Hello, Chiefs Kingdom, and welcome to the Arrowhead Kingdom Chiefs cast live from the Wolf Den. I am Chris.
And I'm Josh, and today we're going to be talking about the big Chiefs win in the AFC Championship game, among other things. Big reminder that all Chiefs fans are invited to join us for game day. Visit arrowheadkingdom.org to learn more about the group and to find your local chapter. And also, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We are, of course, presented by Complete Weddings and Events, your leading provider of photo, video, DJ, photo booth, lighting, and day of coordination services. Visit them at completewedo.com.
Right, today we're talking Kansas City Chiefs with Nathan Vickers from KCTV5. Welcome, Nathan.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, glad to have you on. So you're a reporter now, you're a journalist, but before that you were a football player at Truman State. What was that like? So you're a football player covering sports. It seems pretty on brand.
Anytime someone asks me about this, I gotta qualify this with saying that I was not a very good football player in college. It was one of those things like, in high school, I was biggest kid on the team in my small town and went to college on got a little tiny scholarship, not much of one. And I went to, they moved me to guard because I was pretty undersized. And, even for like Division II football, I was kind of a smaller guy. And so I worked hard. I tried to stick it out. I went for 4 years and I lettered one of those years. And then my fifth year in college, I decided I was probably better off doing some part-time work at the local ABC affiliate in Kirksville, Missouri. So that it's kind of what launched my career. But, I always value that time I had as a football player, but it was a lot of running uphill and getting beat up on, that's for sure.
Yeah. So did you guys literally run hills? Because I remember doing that in track in high school.
Yeah, we ran hills. We had bleachers that we'd run up there. The sled drills, pushing the sleds in the summertime was rough. I don't think I knew what I was in for when I went to college to play ball. Because I was used to doing summer workouts in high school, but once you're doing it even at the Division II level, it kind of becomes a full-time job, right? You're spending 4 hours a night watching film. You're pushing yourself in the summer. I got to where I could squat about 600 pounds, but it was a lot of work, a lot to keep up with.
Did you see the what Nick Saban said about what's his face, the 49ers quarterback? What's his name? He goes, yeah. He was like, you're under average height. And I looked that up. He's like 6'1". I'm like, that's like what my height is.
Right. Yeah. I think even on the Truman football team, I'm 6'2". Average O-line was probably like 6'3", 6'4". The funniest thing was when we played in the same conference back then as Northwest Missouri State, which was a big D2 powerhouse. And they had a guy who basically, he was kind of he had transferred from a Division I program from Oklahoma State. His name was Mo Dampier. I'll never forget his name because he was on the roster at 380 pouns. And I think that was underselling it because the guy was just this giant beast. And the coach told me, you're just gonna have to chop block him whenever you have a backside block. Just chop block him. Just you don't have to move him forward. Just keep him from getting past you.
Calm down.
And so I'd go to chop block him, and he would just kick me out of the way. We lost that game 70-7. So that was I enjoyed it. I miss those guys, and I still keep in touch with some of them.
Josh and I had a discussion at the tailgate party at the AFC Championship game. I think we were trying to figure out what our 40 would be right now. Did we say it was like 9 seconds? Probably?
Yeah, something like that. 9. Yeah.
Like 9-second 40. How do you like that?
I don't even want to know.
Where that concept came up, it was we were talking about coming back down to Kansas City for the draft and doing some stuff there for the show. And Brian and I talked about a concept of putting together our own draft workout videos where we would sit there and highlight 9-second 40s. And while we're putting this out here, we're probably going to have to actually do this.
Yeah.
Can I do like the bench press thing on a weight machine when the plate's going up behind me? Maybe is that okay? Can we do that?
Yeah, Chris went to Northwest Missouri State, so he.
No kidding.
Class of 2005, yeah.
Oh yeah, Mel Jerdsma years. That was I mean, they're still good, but back then they were just like nobody could touch them. Nobody.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I got there right after their back-to-back championships, and then they won I think a couple more while I was there.
Yeah, it's a cool part of the state too. It's Maryville's like it's a lot like Kirksville. It's just a small
Mhm.
town. It's a good place to go to college. Kind of keeps you out of trouble. I've got some family up in that part of the state, so
Cool.
yeah, it's a cool town. But I hate their football team. No offense.
Understood.
Yeah,
Drama.
Brian, I spent some time at Fort Hays State before he and Chris both made it out to KU, and I spent all my time at Fort Hays State, and so Northwest Missouri State wasn't in the conference at that time. They made that realignment since we've been there, but yeah, I remember us being a basketball school and not football. I don't think there was a competitive football game I watched when I was in college. There was a little bit of that when I was in high school. In high school is when the basketball team won the national championship and everything. So that was fun. But again, small town college and stuff. So I think we all did a lot of the same type of thing. So after you got out of school, you interned with a little late night show run by a guy named David Letterman. And looking at your bio, it looks like you did all the stuff that made the Letterman show awesome, which was all of his just tomfoolery. So what was the coolest skit that you ever got to work on there?
Oh man. Okay. So the part-time ABC thing is what eventually led to the internship, because I had that experience, and that's what they were looking for, was someone who'd at least been around TV cameras. And so my role with the Late Show was I was an intern in their human interest department, which is the part of the show that books the stupid human tricks and the stupid pet tricks. You remember that segment? Yeah.
My son, I swear to God, watching the last 7 days on YouTube. My son loves it. We were just like watching all his classic Letterman things, and that was up there for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So I was there in the spring, and so for March Madness, they did like a online thing where they picked the 32 best human tricks and the 32 best pet tricks, and they did like a bracket with them to see which one would win. So that meant that I got to watch every single segment in the history of the show. And I had my own system. I'd rank them and stuff. And I realized there's way too many appearances of people who like had their dog or something eating like peanut butter or cottage cheese out of their mouth. It was disgusting, but it was so much fun. It was a fun project to work on. And we also I helped book like the national turkey gobbling champion kind of stuff. And if we'd have a magician on the show, like that would come through our department. But my favorite thing that happened while I was there, I actually got to be in a sketch. It is called Dave's Cameo in Iron Man 2, and it was the idea of the sketch is that Dave is like sitting in the audience in that car race scene in Iron Man 2, and he gets hit by like a piece of debris from the race, and so I had to stand next to David Letterman and then like back acting like I'd gotten like David just gotten hit with a piece of debris. It ended up being just totally awkward. It was just funny because it was like just awkward humor. But that was a really fun experience. I didn't get to interact with a lot of celebrities. I think I met Ricky Gervais once, and I answered a phone call from Kevin Bacon once. So that's my 6 steps from Kevin Bacon. I
Yeah.
said,
Wow.
yes.
You're the first degree.
Yeah.
We have a degree of Kevin Bacon now.
We have a degree of Kevin Bacon now. Yeah. I once told Kevin Bacon how to get into the lobby or something like that. But, yeah, it was a fun experience, and coming from a small town, living in New York for a semester was a pretty big thrill.
So this is something I've always been kind of curious about. So you were interning with ABC, and now you're with CBS, and Letterman was obviously CBS. How often does bouncing between the different networks go? I've always just been curious what that's like, similar to bouncing between jobs in big corporations within an industry.
For me as an intern, it mattered hardly at all. And local TV stations are affiliates. So the one up in Kirksville was I said it was an ABC affiliate, but it was owned by, at the time, kind of a smaller company called Barrington Broadcast. So they had no real connection to ABC. So when you go to apply for a job, they're just looking for people with experience. And I was working minimum wage in Kirksville, Missouri, shooting football highlights. And so that the affiliate didn't matter to them. They just wanted someone who they felt like could work well in a TV environment. And then but I do like CBS though a lot. That's part of what I like about KCTV5 is we carry the Chiefs games most weeks, and like CBS programming, CBS News. It's just more of a, what flavor of Coke do you like more than anything?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I grew up on a farm. We had 3 channels on a good day. We always had CBS, we always had public TV, and on a good day we get NBC. But so that meant that the newscaster I grew up with is Dan Rather, and I always like that from a CBS standpoint. And they always had good programming, and the whole superlative they throw out that they've always got a #1 show is generally pretty true.
I was like the PBS versus, like, if you had like the public broadcasting, Bill Nye the Science Guy, but I was a Beekman's World guy. I think that was like the cable version of Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. He was just like more zany.
I love Beekman. Yeah, I was a Beekman kid.
Beekman, yeah, right.
I was a Beekman kid. Yeah, I got to see him. He was at the University of Missouri once when I was a kid, and my mom took us up to see Beekman.
That's awesome.
The Jesse Hall. It was so cool. They like slimed people and stuff. It was fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, it was like it's completely different. Like this guy in a rat costume walking around.
Yeah, you got like people. It's so weird.
Like a New York accent or something. He's like smacking Y's or whatever, talking Y's. It's so funny. I like that.
I think about that show every time there's a thunderstorm, because he did taught us the trick where you hear or you see the lightning flash and then you count. And then you divide by the number of seconds by 5, and that's how you tell how close the storm is or whether it's getting closer or farther away.
Yeah, I still do that trick. Actually, I remember. I don't know if I learned it there, but yeah, I still do that. To this day, I still do that. Yeah,
good stuff.
Yeah. So what's your favorite story you've ever worked on as a photojournalist?
Man, my favorite one ever was probably I shot it. Let's see, it's been 2 full years at this point. And it was just a good people story. There was a diner over in Lawrence called the Lady Bird Diner, and of course during the pandemic all the restaurants had to close for a little bit, and for Lady Bird it didn't make sense to like just do carry out or to like open at half capacity or something like that. So they weren't going to be able to open up as a restaurant. So what the lady did though was she started collecting donations, and she kept her kitchen going and kept people working, and she made some of the same foods that she was making in her restaurant all the time, and she used it to like feed hungry people without homes in Lawrence for she kept it going for almost a full year. It was incredible. And when I was there, like there's people waiting in this long line on a cold day, and she's like calling out orders, and the kitchen's busy, and there was like a lady there. She just found out she was pregnant. So the lady brings her some baby clothes. It was just a really good like moment in time people story about this lady who was doing some really amazing things. And that was just the story, just kind of restores your faith in humanity, right? But it's been a couple years since I've done that. My favorite recent story was just a couple weeks ago, where a couple guys were just like hanging out on the Missouri River, and they found like a fossilized skull, and it turned out to be like an extinct species of bison. It's probably like 10,000 years old. Yeah.
I saw that.
That was just a fun one. It was
fantastic.
Crazy dudes. Yeah.
The Lady Bird Diner, my wife and I go there. That's our breakfast spot. One of our breakfast spots in Lawrence. If you're there, by the way, the chicken fried steak and eggs, that's what I get for breakfast. It's I highly recommend that. But yeah, I remember seeing that story Mass Street whenever COVID started and they had to close down. It was like, yeah, that was a very heartwarming and amazing story that they kept on going there, and beloved business here in Lawrence for sure.
Yeah, she seems like really good people.
100%.
Yeah, for a while, COVID gave us some moments like that, and I fear that we're getting farther away from some of the stuff that we learned a really short period of time ago. But there was a short period of time where you could find stuff like that, and it's also just a model of ingenuity, just making something work, and just refusing to let circumstances just put an end to something like the Lady Bird Diner. So yeah, I remember hearing about that. That was super cool. So now one of the things that you're reporting on is something that I think we're all three a little jealous of. So you're covering a Chiefs Super Bowl run for only only the third time here in 5 years. So 60% of the last 5 years you're doing this. And that's really how we ended up getting connected is you were looking for some of our fan groups in Arizona. And I think we got you in touch with Hachi, who does a great job down there and helps run the party at Pub Rock, which if you've never been to the Phoenix area in Scottsdale, it's this rock venue that's just a great place to watch a Chiefs game. So are you making it down for the game, or what's your next couple of weeks look like?
Yeah, so it's going to be crazy. This is actually going to be my fourth time covering a Super Bowl, because in 2019 the Chiefs didn't make it, but the company that owned us at the time sent me down to Atlanta to do Super Bowl content for our affiliates, because we had, affiliates interested in the Patriots fan base in particular. So that was kind of my introduction to it. And then, the next 2 years, of course, the Chiefs were in it. So that's what we were doing. So I've learned at this point that it is the most work I've ever done in a concentrated amount of time, but also like the most fun and rewarding thing. I mean, a lot of years we've worked like 20-hour days, like 5, 6, 7 days in a row, just back to back, because you're doing stuff in the morning show, and then you're staying through the evening, and then doing stuff for the 10 o'clock, and so if you're just get a few hours of sleep, and then you come back the next day and you just hit it hard. But it's so much fun because you're meeting people from all over the country. You're seeing so many cool things. I've never been to Phoenix, so I'm looking forward to, exploring Phoenix and seeing Club Rock live. Actually, I did a Zoom interview with them the other day, and they seem crazy. And I'm going to say this, like, the Tampa and Miami fan groups were fantastic when we went down there, and I was really impressed at how dedicated the Chiefs following is. But after I posted in the Facebook group where you guys saw, my phone was just blowing up the rest of the day. I've almost gotten too many like emails, calls, texts from people, because I think there's a huge following down in Phoenix, and I think they've been like waiting for this for a while for the Chiefs to come into town. And I think I get the sense that people down there are really loyal and really looking forward to this. And that makes it like easy for me, and it makes it really exciting for us too, right? Because it's just this like contagious level of excitement, and you get those great pep rallies, and the people are tailgating, they're bringing barbecue down there with them to Arizona, and you meet so many people who are connected by this, and people go across the country to just be in town while this is going on. And they don't even have a ticket, and so the fan experience, I think, is part of it. And then in Tampa, I didn't actually get to go to the game. I actually fell asleep in a news car sitting outside the stadium with another reporter that was working, because we were both so exhausted. It was just such a horrible game, and we were watching on a laptop. We both just like passed out. And so I'm hoping I can enjoy it a little bit more this year. I'm hoping to be in at least like a press auxiliary area. It's probably like an obstructed view, but it's cool. Yeah, I don't take this for granted at all. It's so much work, but it's just so much fun, and you never know when it's going to be like your last one. So I always try to say yes to that kind of stuff.
That adrenaline crash has just got to be hardcore after like 20 to 5 straight days of 20-hour days, and you're just like going 100 miles an hour the whole time. And it's just got to be really rough.
Yeah, you definitely like sleep it off for a couple of days after you come back and crash. Or if they win, of course, you got to kind of rally for the parade. So there's that too.
Right. Yeah. There was I read this funny study, interesting study. They're talking about like what is the thing everyone looks for in like a athletic environment, or like what are people looking? What are sports fans wanting? And the number one thing was overwhelming. Like, we want suspense. And I'm like, that's exactly what you get during this time of year. And it's just like, it goes on for a week, and you're nothing but suspenseful, and your brain is like running out of adrenaline because you need to relax. And then we have parades, and you do a job and everything. So tip of the hat. That sounds exhausting.
Well, yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a great week. And I think people are going to make it really easy to find stories and just find really good content for us back here in Kansas City.
Well, we certainly appreciate you fitting us into your schedule. I mean, and knowing how busy you are, we genuinely appreciate that, and also genuinely appreciate all the connections with the Arrowhead Kingdom people down in Arizona. We're happy to help showcase them because I mean I agree with you. They 100% have been looking forward to that. I remember talking to Hachi, I think, for the show right before the season started, and I mean he's been looking forward to this the entire year. And he normally plays the music during the commercials and everything at Pub Rock. So I mean, definitely enjoy yourself down there. So aside from fans and things of that nature and athletes, do you ever interview like the musical guests or any of that when it comes to things like Super Bowl coverage?
We don't have a lot of access to like the musical guests. We have a sports crew that's going down too. They'll be the ones kind of interacting the most with the athletes, and maybe we might get some athletes' families. We're hoping to connect with Nick Lowry, former Chiefs kicker. His foundation is going to be part of Lee Steinberg's annual Super Bowl party, so that'll be a story for us. During the week, there's usually like some kind of a red carpet event for the NFL honors, like where they announce the MVP and things like that. I haven't been to that in a couple of years, but the one time I did do it, I got to interact with Paul Rudd a little bit. That was kind of fun, and they'll usually have like Miss Arizona or someone like that. So you get some kind of a mix of celebrities and personalities on those fronts. But no, I'm not. I don't think I'll get to talk to who is the halftime act this year. I don't actually know.
Is it Rihanna?
I think it is. Yeah,
Rihanna.
Yeah, I'm not going to meet Rihanna.
Yeah,
I wish, but probably not going to happen.
Yeah, I can't imagine she does much hanging out with anybody before or after performance.
I can't remember his name. I want to say there's a local guy, like a Center High School graduate, who's been part of the dance team the last couple Super Bowls. So maybe we'll get to meet him.
Yeah, definitely. That would be definitely interesting. So were you part of any of the coverage for the AFC Championship game?
I was kind of hitting the bars that night. Just yes, I was working. When I say I'm hitting the bars, I'm like getting video at the bars. I'm not like hitting the bars. So that was kind of my contribution to that. I don't usually work Sundays, so they kind of called me in for some extra stuff there. And then we did the T-shirt thing afterward, the new AFC T-shirt.
I have a question about that. Is that okay? I have a question about that. So you're at the bars, you're out there with the people, and is there some kind of like a person you're looking for? Because I got approached when Jayhawks made it to the Final Four, and I was convinced it's because I was there with my wife and my 4-year-old son, and we're like going around there. So I'm like, oh, they must like families or something. But I don't know. Is it like a kind of, who are you looking for whenever you're in that situation to get a hit?
So this is just me, but I look for people who are wearing hats because I think it just ties the atmosphere together. If you can find someone wearing like a good Jayhawks hat or a good Chiefs hat, and you can find someone wearing a silly hat, that's like bonus content. But that's kind of the first thing I look for. If someone's being animated and like interacting with people, I always think, oh, that's probably going to be a good character. Sometimes kids. People with kids are great to talk to because every now and then you'll get a really cute like kid soundbite. So it's just you kind of look for a mix, right? You're kind of looking for like young, old, man, woman, different ethnicities, because you want like a variety of people, contributing to this and adding different viewpoints.
All right. Okay. So I'll put a hat on, and then put on a hat on my kid and my wife.
Yep. There you go.
Very animated, and we'll be running around.
Yeah. Just like be jumping up and down and shouting and stuff. And just, you got to ride that line between like looking animated and looking inebriated.
Uncomfortable. Like,
right.
Try to stay away from this person. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Good note. Okay, I can do that.
So you're truly looking for content for the edit in mind. You're
right. Exactly. Yeah. Especially when you're getting like fan stuff, because it's all about like the real short sound bites, right? And you're looking for that energy. You're just looking for something to capture the mood. So yeah, you're kind of shooting for a sound bite or two.
So how much time have you spent in your career and even in your schooling on the other side of the camera?
Kind of 50-50. So I'm a what's called a multimedia journalist. So that means I'm a photographer and a reporter. So
got it. Okay.
I shoot almost all my own stories. So and I really like that part of it too. It's I know it's kind of you have some creative control over it, and
Sure.
um, everything becomes like shooting a little movie in a way. Like I watched The
Yeah.
Fablemans last night, and I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a bunch of scenes where they're kind of getting creative with like low budget, movie making, and I can kind of find that relatable because you basically just have a camera and yourself, right? And everything you do is just kind of based around like what you can do with yourself and a camera.
Got it. So I have to ask this: what are your main camera rigs like when you're shooting stuff? What are the rigs you use?
Yeah, so I use like a Panasonic E&G camera, which it's like kind of what you see in the movies, and so
Yep.
it's like a bigger camera with like a big lens. So that's kind of my my main camera. I shoot a lot with a GoPro too. I try to like
Got
get because it has like a little wide angle to it, and then of course like the phones has great video now, so I shoot a lot with it. Every now and then I'll use something like a DSLR. I have like a little slider that I can use, but for this trip, for when I'm going to Phoenix, like it's going to be like almost all just like on my one camera because just can't carry much more than that. The nice thing about the GoPro and the phone is you can just stick them in your pocket.
Yeah, for sure.
Or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean a DSLR with a good gimbal and a Ronin, you can get a lot of stuff with that.
Yeah, you really can. I mean,
Nikon 6500.
I mean, shoot, they're even using those in the like the games and the broadcast. It's like it's like a Sony A7 or something that they have on a Ronin, and it looks so good. I think they use the shot way too much, but that like nice depth of field just looks really cool in a sports setting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. You notice the shots that are always used to establish and everything. I done some wedding video production and stuff, and so it's all Ronin's gimbals, and you're doing that establishing shot, and you always have the drone that's coming up with the names coming out, and it's fun stuff.
Yeah, it's cool, man. I need to get my drone certification. That's like the next thing I need to start working on.
Yeah, no, they don't mess around with that stuff.
No.
Last summer, actually, we had a wedding in the middle of the air and water show, and so the couple and my videographer were going back and forth with the FAA about drone clearance around this spot right on Lake Michigan, close to where the Blue Angels are going to be flying and practicing. So we had to find this window where they could shoot off fireworks and do everything. And I'm just sitting here going like, what are we talking about? I never in my life thought I'd be trying to get details around for stuff like that, but here we are.
Yeah, for sure. We gotta be really careful about like where we fly the drone and when. It's a lot harder to plan around the drone. Like when we used to have a chopper and you could basically fly that whenever, and you got to be a lot more intentional with the drone. But I mean, the video quality is just great. When you can get that thing up there, it adds a lot to a story.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so let's talk about the actual game that's sending the Chiefs to the Super Bowl. And I know that I think we all watched this from slightly different perspectives. Brian and I were in the stadium. You were roving around. Were you at KC Live? Were you in Westport? Where were you?
I was at a couple of like neighborhood bars in Lenexa, Shawnee, Overland Park, that area. I just kind of went right from one to the other. So I actually listened to most of it on the radio, and so I've had to kind of play catch up. I love listening to the radio broadcast. I think Mitch Holtis does a great job.
Holtis, he is fire.
Yeah, it's so fun. It's so fun. I've worked weekends for so long in my career that I kind of got used to just listening on the radio while I drive around, and that's kind of what I enjoy the most anyway. But yeah, I went back and watched some highlights, and I mean, to me, one huge takeaway for me is just like, the narrative going into the season is the Chiefs no longer have a Tyreek Hill. They no longer have a true number one receiver who's going to make big plays, and so they're not going to finish at the top of their division. They're not going to, do well in the playoffs. They're not going to do well in a big game like the one we saw. And I think they proved that, they can win without Tyreek Hill. They can win with Marcus Kemp and Sky Moore making plays. To me, that says a lot about the Chiefs' depth, and it says a lot about Patrick Mahomes, and it says a lot about just the grit that this team has shown throughout the season.
Yeah, so Chris, I think you're the only one that watched it on TV. What was the commentary like throughout the game? Because I'll just be honest with you, sitting in the stands, I don't know that I truly grasped how many injuries happened because everybody got up and walked off the field, and you don't have somebody in the stadium saying, "Oh, so and so's down and they're not going to come back." So, what was that like for you, Chris?
Yeah, well, so I actually was about an hour behind to start off with. So luckily I started DVRing it and I started watching it probably about 6:30. But yeah, I mean, right when L'Jarius Sneed went out with the concussion, it's like, oh my God. And it was like a domino effect. The down goes Kadarius Toney, down goes Juju, down goes um Willie Gay. It was just kind of like, oh my God, they're running out of bodies here. And Nathan pointed out, it's like, literally, I think there was a play where the three receivers that were out there was Marcus Kemp, Noah Gray, and Jody Fortson. I mean, that's how down they were at the skill position. And then, with Snead and Gay going down, that's your best linebacker and your best cornerback going down. So it was that's the old again, that's all the more of why it was so impressive on what they did Sunday night, is because they lost a lot of star power during that game, but their depth really showed, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, they had 10 rookies playing the game, 8 on the defensive side, and 5, I believe, rookies started on the defensive side. So I mean, it was pretty great to see just how much they were able to absorb all of the injuries due to the depth that they built up from the Tyreek Hill transaction.
Yeah,
Good.
so let's talk more about the defense, because I mean the offense I thought was impressive. Yeah, and then seeing the highlights and seeing how many wide receiver situations like Chris just said. But I mean, the defense, the Bengals have, I think, the best trio of wide receivers in the league, and I don't even think it's particularly close. And none of them even sniffed 100 yards. And Justin Reed talked earlier in the season and got scorched. And I mean, there were people that were feeling bad for some of the rookie cornerbacks, especially Joshua Williams, for getting thrown in all these coverages. And it almost seems like the whole thing was just a long game throughout the season to have them ready for this moment. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Did you see anything similar to that from the vibe, or did you take it differently? Did the defense just prepare better? What are your thoughts, Nathan?
Oh, you're asking me. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that was something we talked about going into it. Was like, we have a younger defensive secondary now. They're going to pick on us. But yeah, I think like clearly, like, the defensive line really stepped up and they put a lot of pressure on Burrow. I mean, he still made some plays, but like, I mean, Burrow had to have been thinking about Chris Jones the rest of the night after that first sack, and then all the sacks, and Frank Clark stepped up in a big way. And then to cap it all off, the Jones sack that killed the final Bengals drive was just huge. I mean, I was listening to that on the radio in my car, just like I was just parked outside the Kansas Sampler and there by Oak Park Mall, and just like screaming into the void, because I was like, yes, Chris Jones came up in a big way. He's one of my favorite players. He's just adds a lot of energy to the game. And you could tell those guys took it personally. This is going to be Burrowhead Stadium, and Jones comes out in this final press conference before the game, and they're like, "Oh, this is Burrowhead Stadium, all right."
Oh, that's exactly what I was thinking in the stadium. Like, I think he's mad. He's not happy about that. And every second, I'm enjoying this. I mean, my fantasy football defense was the Chiefs, and it just so happened they would have done this during the regular season. But I was like, how fun was that? It was just like a sack after sack in the early going. I'm like, oh, the defense came to party. So I will never get tired of seeing that. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, then let's talk special teams a little bit. I mean, Harrison Bucker took a just punch after punch throughout the entire season, and the dude's been just lights out, perfect in the postseason. I mean, every single kick that he's made, which is what is it, 5 or 6 field goals at this point, 5 or 6 extra points. Every single one of them is just dead center down the middle of the uprights. So
I think he needs like high pressure to like the point after attempt situation out the whole season. Like we saw that he needs it to be 14 degrees. Game that needs to be the highest pressure situation, and he's like a lock. I don't know what's going on.
Seconds,
yeah, that was just amazing. But yeah, Harrison Butker, that was that was amazing. I don't know, Nathan, what do you think?
Well, since I was listening on the radio, I didn't see that final kick, and someone described it to me, and I'm really glad that I didn't see that final kick, because the way it was described to me, and you guys might have to fill me in, it sounded like it kind of hovered. It kind of the wind was moving the ball a little bit as it went in, and one guy said like it seemed like it took like 7.5 minutes for it to cross the goalpost, and I think that would have just driven me crazy. But yeah, I agree. He seems like he does well under pressure. But I mean, who could blame him? Yeah, he's taken hits this year, and I don't know what it's like being in the mind of a kicker. Like that's so. It's just the mental game of like trying to thread the needle every time you walk out on the field. You got one job, but it's maybe the most important job in that moment. So I mean, good for him for coming through and nailing it with 3 seconds left.
The way I saw it described, because it definitely did look like it took longer. The way I saw it described that I thought was best, I can't remember where I read this, but it was somebody talking about it like a golf shot.
Yeah.
Where you just had that really, really high lob that goes right over the green, and you're just wanting it to land next to the pin and stick, but you're just anxiously waiting for it to happen, and then it finally drops and you just go nuts because you're going to go up there and sink the birdie putt. You're just in the zone.
My special teams favorite was Sky Moore, though. Come on, how big was that punt return? That was just magic.
I was
right there,
sitting on the edge of my seat every time I saw him back there to receive a ball, and he came up big.
That was just what we needed at that moment. Like I talk about big plays. I mean, obviously we watched it a certain way. We know those kinds of moments like that, but like getting the ball that far down the field with that much time left. And obviously things played out the way they did, but like it all started with that punt return, and I was sitting in the end zone and watching him run away. Just the energy of everyone cheering and from that end zone, watching him do, and saw the lane, him just going and putting on the jets and how fast he just goes. I'm like, this is unbelievable. It was Sky Moore. I was just like, I will never forget that run for as long as I live.
Well, if you want to talk about the mental aspect, we talked about Harrison Butker. Can you imagine what was going through Sky Moore's head? Because
right.
He was third on the depth chart to return. I don't think he even thought he was going to be seeing a return in that game, because it would have been Hardman, Tony, and then probably him, and Justin Watson was even active. And that was really impressive. Given the struggles that he had in the regular season, he shows up on the biggest stage and really delivers.
It's like that scene on the Sandlot where he just goes, "You caught that ball. Why'd you catch that ball? You weren't thinking about it. You're just out there having fun." And maybe that had something to do with it. It's like you weren't thinking about whether or not you were going to muff another punt like you did against the Colts. It was just, I'm going to go ahead and catch this, and we're going to go to the Super Bowl.
Maybe he's like the backup catcher on Major League 2. Maybe he was reciting some Victoria's Secret catalog.
Yeah, Rube Goldberg. She likes to go out and wear the undercarriage because it makes a happier you, or whatever.
I love a good 90s reference to movies.
Yeah.
My favorite. I love those.
Yeah. All right. So let's just do a quick around the horn here. We got the Chiefs facing off against the Eagles. What is your one key to victory, and what's your final score prediction? We'll go with Chris, and then Nathan, and then Brian.
I would say key to victory would probably be make Jalen Hurts throw the ball more than 30 times. If they can do that, I feel really good. As far as score goes, I need some more time to really marinate over that. But I guess if I was going to throw out a score right now, you know what? Give me the Chiefs 28. Give me the Eagles 20.
All right. Love it. Nathan, what do you think?
Yeah, it's similar. I think you got to make Hurts throw the ball. I think you got to put a spy on him to keep him contained, to keep him from getting out in the open field and running, because that's when you're going to have big plays. That's when it's going to disrupt your defense and put you playing on your heels, right? So I think if the Chiefs defense can come through again and get him on the ground a couple times early, then I think that really helps you through the rest of the game. Offensively, we've got to overcome some injuries and get healthy again. My final score, I'm similar to Chris there. I think 28-24. I think the Eagles are going to get a lot of yards and move the ball a lot. I think the Chiefs red zone defense is going to step up, keep them to a field goal on one of those drives, and that's what's going to decide the game.
There was so I was taking my kid to school today, right? And we're driving his drive time morning zoo radio, listening to that, and there's a person on there and talking about like the game, and they're talking about like highlight reel, and they're talking about like who was the player, and they mentioned the center, and the host says, no one cares about the center. I'm like, I do care about the center. I care a lot about the center. We care about the center. I mean, I know it's not exactly the highlight reel player. It's not exactly the marquee name, but it is. We've got to protect the quarterback. We got to remember that a few years ago. So 2 things: protect the quarterback, obviously, but you know what? I want to see 5 more sacks. I want to see 5 more sacks. That defense, I want that spark to come alive again. Yeah, it's after that Buccaneers game, all I can think about is protect the quarterback. For the love of God, please protect the quarterback. And you know what? Let's put some heat. Let's carry that enthusiasm we had in the last game and make that defense come alive. So I'm looking for those things. I'm thinking Chiefs 24, Eagles 21.
All right. By the way, Creed Humphrey, the Chiefs center, might have had the best photo from the entire thing taken.
Yes, I saw that. That was great.
Concession stand. That was just incredible.
Young,
I think I'm more aligned with Brian. I think this is all just you got to keep Patrick Mahomes upright. I mean, the 49ers didn't even get a chance to give him a game, and some of that was part of Brock Purdy going down with that Tommy John UCL injury that happened because they had heat on him the entire day. So I really think that it's you got to keep Mahomes as clean as they did against Cincinnati, so he has a chance to make that 8-yard run at the end of the game, when everything goes. I don't see a world where this game doesn't get into the 30s, so I'm going to go 35-31 Kansas City for the win. So we're all on a consensus with that. All right, so couple things left. We got the final take. Before we do that, we have if this week was a song. So I want to see what everybody came up with, and I know that I mentioned this earlier in the day, Nathan, so I'll let you go first. If this last week was a song, what are you singing to?
I tossed around a bunch of ideas, and all I could come up with was "Living on a Prayer," because I was just praying the last couple minutes of that game, and I don't think we got lucky by any stretch, but certainly it does seem like it could have gone either way until the end, and divine intervention always helps, right?
Yeah, there you go. Chris, what do you got?
I'm gonna go with "Everybody Wants Some" by Van Halen, because the Bengals, the Bills, and everyone else in the AFC still wants some of the Chiefs, and the Chiefs are still the king. So bring it on. The AFC is still Kansas City's.
Exactly. Brian, what do you got?
You got to fight for your right to Lombardi, you jabroni.
Yeah. So I thought about going with Aretha Franklin, RESPCT for Chris Jones, and maybe I'm just going to double dip here. So I thought that was good. Respect Arrowhead. We're all going to look in the camera and say that. But I got to go with The Rock's Know Your Role, song, because that Travis Kelce clip at the end for the Cincinnati mayor, his name escapes me. I mean, I appreciate that guy for taking
Mayor
his
Jabroni, I believe,
just going on Twitter and saying,
yeah, officially Mayor Jabroni.
But yeah, it's like, know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni. Yeah, that was great. I may or may not have clipped that audio, and I'm going to edit that together and have that playing on a silent disco headphone anytime somebody wants motivation at a Super Bowl party, because for the 54 Super Bowl party, I brought in silent disco headphones, and I had Kelce doing the "Fight for Your Right to Party," the radio call out, and the song that they played on a loop on whatever the station was the whole time I was driving home. So I'm going to put that same motivation mix back together with that. So that's
I love the world we live in where professional wrestling and football are kind of coming together a little bit. There's a little bit of crossover, the Venn diagram. I'm like, I enjoy this. I'm a fan of this.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so final takes, and this is the thing where you can bring up anything that you want to, and we always let our guests go first. So what is your final maybe or maybe not related take?
You got me thinking about this just now. Talking about keeping the homes upright, bringing some energy. The last 2 times we've been to the Super Bowl, we have started a little bit slowly, and I would really love to see a Super Bowl in which the Chiefs just come out like a charging bull, just full on trying to throw deep, making plays, and just playing with a lot of energy and passion. I don't want to see us, trying to play from behind in the fourth quarter again.
Got it. Chris, what do you got for a final take?
Well, real quick, I just thought of actually a better week of the song, actually. Have a Cigar by Pink Floyd. I appreciated all the Joe Burrow trolling going on in the locker room. But most impressively by Patrick Mahomes Sr. I mean, that was
funny. I saw that.
That was awesome. But yeah, just to throw out one more song there. Okay. So yeah, Tom Brady retired today again, hopefully for good. And then kind of a story I think is really under the radar right now is LeBron James is on pace this season to break Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's all-time scoring record in the NBA. He probably will do it here in the next month or two, but I don't feel like that's getting a lot of run. But so where am I going with this? Why am I bringing up Brady? Why am I bringing up LeBron James? And already that at least I've heard this week, and this is a conversation that will always come up every time, maybe every offseason, but especially when Patrick Mahomes is going to the Super Bowl, is the comparison between Mahomes and Brady. And I'm seeing a lot of parallels right now, and I'm curious to see maybe in 10 years if this is going to rival that of the Michael Jordan, LeBron James debate. You've got 40-somethings like me who will probably, go to my grave saying Michael Jordan is better than LeBron James. But, people that grew up in the aughts and the teens might say LeBron James is better. And actually, if you look at the statistics and you really think about the accomplishments that LeBron James has had and how incredible it is, he's got a very legitimate claim to that. And especially if he's adding on the all-time scoring record in the NBA. So who knows? Maybe Patrick Mahomes won't have as many Super Bowls as Tom Brady 10 years from now, but I could see Patrick Mahomes breaking the all-time passing record of, well, actually Tom Brady's, ironically. He may have a lot of statistical records in his pocket, and maybe he has 2 or 3 less Super Bowls than Tom Brady. But does that actually mean that he doesn't deserve to be spoken on the same plane as Tom Brady? I don't think that would be the case. So we'll see where things are at, but that's been a topic that's kind of been a hot topic here recently is where's Mahomes on the Brady on the Brady metric here. And I don't think that's a story you can really assess probably for at least 10 more years. But I think that when it's all said and done, you're gonna have a legitimate argument that Mahomes will be up there with and maybe better than Brady.
I don't know how this is all going to go, but the most exciting part of it is the prospect that we have to have this debate. That's the part that I'm most excited about, is that we're going to have this debate. Brian, you got anything for us?
So the year was 2002. Okay. And I just got, so LeBron James is 1 year younger than me. And I just got done the Saturday morning. I had a varsity basketball game the night before. I was really proud of myself. I scored 12 points, had a good game. We won. And I was woke up the next day feeling high, feeling good about it. And I had to go to the dentist. I'm in the dentist office, and I'm picking up this magazine, ESPN magazine. On the cover is this guy named LeBron James. And it's like the next coming of Jordan or something along those, some headline like that. And I'm all like proud of myself. And I see this dude who's in front of a sold out stadium who all went there to see him play in Ohio. It's like, 18,000 people. I'm like, I am so nowhere near even close to anything to even think about considering the molecule of this thing. And I'm like, oh, it took my excitement away just a little bit because just the ocean of talent that is that kind of player versus like a ho-hum flyover state kind of like a player who's just like a guy who likes to play basketball. And every time I hear LeBron like accomplishing a record, I'm like, I think about, oh gosh, I remember that day in the dentist office where I had to absorb that. But it was, is what it is. That's the ocean of talent that is the NBA. So, but my final take is enjoy it. Yeah, I feel so blessed, thankful for the experience, AFC championships, these kinds of games at this time of year. And here we are again going to the Super Bowl. And I'm just you better believe I'm going to enjoy the heck out of this game. And I'm enjoying the heck out of the seasons of the last 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons. I'm enjoying the heck out of all of this. It's been a fun time, fun ride, and I'm looking forward to this game. So enjoy it.
Yeah, totally agree with that. So my take is going to be completely unrelated to anything football. I don't know if you guys saw this. I'm guessing you probably did. But so Chris and I are located in Milwaukee. There's a suburb of Milwaukee that's on the north side of the city. This is actually where I lived when I first moved here, called Germantown, Wisconsin. And so they recently had a high school basketball tournament, and towards the end of this game, it's not even Germantown. It was two teams, Brookfield, and I can't remember who else. But
you're Sheboygan, I thought, but yeah.
Yeah. So at the end of the game, there's a foul that happens when somebody may or may not have been shooting. They fall to the ground. The referees are trying to sort stuff out. You see a coach run out on the court, and you just hear all kinds of rumblings in the stands. And the announcer gets on. And I'll paraphrase what he said, but he just goes, hey, here's a quick announcement. I should have said this earlier. All the fans, shut up. Shut up. Because the Wisconsin Athletic Association is always looking for referees, and you guys really seem to know what you're doing. So put your stripes on and come down here and do it yourself. And then you get a little bit of applause or whatever. But I thought that was great. Because I would almost put officiating high school sports as one of the probably 5 or 6 least desirable jobs out there, because those guys aren't making any money. They aren't doing this for any reason other than they just really like the sport of basketball. Then you have to sit there and listen to a bunch of parents for kids that aren't going to be playing college ball or AAU ball, let alone anything pro, treating it like it's the NBA finals. And it's ridiculous, and it needs to stop. And I mean, here recently, I think one of the worst displays of how bad this can possibly get was the whole thing with the U.S. men's national soccer coach, Greg Berhalter, and the whole scuffle of bringing up the like bar fight that he had with his wife almost 30 years ago when they were in college. And it was based on a guy that he used to play with, kid not getting enough playing time during the World Cup, and his former teammate's wife is trying to like air all this stuff to get her kid more playing time. It's like this type of stuff just needs to stop, and just let sports be sports and let kids play them and just be done with it. I mean, this is just ridiculous, and I applaud that guy for saying something. And the only thing that I really would have critiqued is you probably could have put a 4-letter word in the middle of that "shut up" and it would have been appropriate. Anyway, so that's all I have. Looking forward to the Super Bowl. Thanks again, Nathan, for being on here and taking some time out of your day. I know you're really busy, and we genuinely appreciate you being part of this. And Chris, I'm looking forward to watching a Super Bowl with you live and in person. And I think we probably have some KU games to watch between now and then too.
We do.
All right. Well, good night, y'all, and good night, Chiefs Kingdom.
Thanks, guys. Had fun.
Yeah, thanks, Nathan.
Chiefs.
Chiefs.